All right, let's jump right into the world of construction contracts. Now, I know, that might sound a little dry, but trust me on this one. These documents, they are the absolute bedrock of any building project. Think of them as the real blueprint for making sure everything gets done on time, on budget, and, actually built the right way.
So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Picture this. You're building a massive, state-of-the-art Olympic stadium. Now compare that to a simple but important roof repair for a local charity. The scale, the money, the deadlines, they're on completely different planets, right? So does it make any sense for them to use the same legal agreement? The answer, of course, is a hard no, and that's exactly the problem we're going to unpack.
Look, a handshake deal is a nice idea. It's built on trust. But trust isn't going to help you when unexpected problems start popping up. And in construction, believe me, they always do. A formal contract, that's your real foundation. It's what protects everyone involved when delays happen, costs spiral, or the design needs to change. It's the official rulebook for when things just don't go to plan.
And all of this brings us to what you could call the construction conundrum. Every single project out there is just packed with risks. Everything from discovering weird stuff in the ground to supply chains breaking down. You absolutely need a solid system to manage all that chaos. And that system, well, it starts with choosing the right contract from day one.
You see, every single construction project is this constant, tricky balancing act. It's a juggle between three competing priorities. You've got time, how fast does this need to happen? You've got cost, what's the bottom line? And you've got quality. How well does it need to perform? The thing is, you can almost never have a perfect 10 on all three. You've got to decide what matters most.
So how in the world do you manage that balancing act? Well, it all circles back to the contract. The contract is the tool, the mechanism you use to officially declare which of these things, time, cost, or quality, is the top dog for this specific project. Let's take a look at how that actually plays out. This chart here really nails it. It shows you the trade-offs in black and white. For an Olympic stadium, that opening ceremony date is set in stone. Time is everything. For a nuclear power plant, you better believe quality and safety are the absolute priority. Cost is way down the list. But for that charity roof repair, the budget is king. Cost is the #1 driver. The contract you choose has to reflect these totally different worlds. So here's the solution. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and write a brand new 1,000-page legal document from scratch every time. The industry came up with something called standard form contracts. These are basically off-the-shelf, pre-written templates that have been battle-tested and refined for decades. They're designed to give you a fair, balanced, and legally solid starting point. The best way to think about these standard contracts is not as just one thing, but as different families. And each family is like a specialized toolbox. When you open that toolbox, you find a whole range of specific tools, different contract forms, each one perfectly designed for a different kind of job. The trick is just knowing which toolbox to grab.
First up, let's talk about JCT, the Joint Contracts Tribunal. If you're doing almost any kind of building project in the UK, odds are you're going to run into a JCT contract. It's pretty much the default, the go-to suite, and it's well known for being pretty fair in how it splits up risk between the client and the builder.
Then you've got NEC, the New Engineering Contract. This is a more modern take on things. The entire philosophy behind NEC is about collaboration and being proactive. It's designed to force everyone to work together as a team to spot and solve problems early, with a huge emphasis on clear communication. And if you're playing in the big leagues on major international projects, we're talking massive infrastructure like dams, bridges, tunnels, you're almost certainly going to be using FIDIC. It's the global standard, the common language that lets companies and governments from all over the world work together on the same page.
And this is where you can see these families aren't just different names on a cover, they actually work differently. For example, under JCT, the project is usually run by an architect. Under FIDIC, it's an engineer. And look at how they handle fights. JCT leans on UK legal processes like adjudication. FIDIC, on the other hand, prefers to use a dispute board first to try and solve things before it gets too formal. They really are built for different worlds.
Okay, let's make this a bit more real. We're going to zoom in on one of these families, the big one in the UK, JCT, to see how this whole toolbox idea really works in practice.
Because even inside that one JCT toolbox, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Not at all. There's a whole suite of different contracts. JCT gives you a specific, tailored document for pretty much any scenario you can imagine, from a gigantic, complex skyscraper all the way down to a simple kitchen extension.
You can kind of imagine the main JCT contracts as a ladder. Down at the bottom rung, you've got the minor works contract, perfect for simple, low-risk jobs. Take a step up and you've got the intermediate contract for when things are a bit more substantial. Above that is the standard building contract, which is the workhorse for big, complicated builds. And way up at the top, you have the major project contract for those massive jobs where the contractor takes on a whole lot more risk.
And this picture just says it all, doesn't it? You see the cover for a simple minor works contract, and right next to it, the one for a major project. The level of detail, the way risk is handled, the rules, they are worlds apart. Why? Because the projects themselves are worlds apart. It all comes back to using the right tool for the job.
So, okay, we get it. There are different contracts for different jobs. But why does this matter so much? Why are we even talking about it? Because choosing the right form, or more importantly, the wrong one, has huge real-world consequences, both in court and in your bank account.
Let me be crystal clear about this. The contract is not just some piece of paper you sign and then forget about in a filing cabinet. No way. It is the single most important document on the project. It sets the rules of the game for absolutely everyone involved, from the first day on site to the very end.
And these are the stakes we're talking about. The contract form you pick literally dictates everyone's legal rights and responsibilities. It tells you exactly how to handle changes, which always happen. It lays out the precise steps you have to follow if there's a disagreement. And maybe most importantly, it decides who is on the hook, and for how much, when something goes wrong. Getting this wrong can be an absolute disaster.
You know, this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. It says that careful selection and adherence to the contract form can help mitigate legal risks and ensure successful project delivery. And that's it, right there. It's not just about picking the right document, it's about following it. That's how you manage risk, that's how you avoid expensive fights, and that's how you deliver a successful project.
So we'll end on this thought. A contract can feel like it's just a document, just a bunch of words on a page. But the second a deadline is missed or a budget gets blown, it suddenly becomes the most important thing in the world. Which leads to the final question. Is your project's foundation, is your contract truly built to last?